We're on. Okay. There's a little green button here that you should. There. Okay. Make sure all your green buttons are on.
I put it on when I have something to say.
Oh. Okay. So let me start over again. I want to welcome you all to the September meeting of the Open Space Greenways Committee. We know it's warm this evening, so we'll try to make this meeting as short as we possibly can. The first order of business is the approval of the June meeting minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes? Yes, Pam?
On the second page, action items, in the last one.
Louder, please.
Oh, in the last item, mulch is also needed for low areas. 2 dead trails, it should be trees.
Thank you.
Over the trail instead of tail. Require removal.
Okay. Any other changes? If not, entertain an action to approve.
So moved.
All in favor?
May I have a second?
Seconds? Second? Yeah. John, second. Approval? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving right along. Carl Bletcher is not here tonight. I think he's somewhere between here and Tawas, so we're not going to have a detailed report from him. However, in his absence, I'd like to report 2 rather significant events that have occurred. First of all, we do have an agreement an agreement between the seller and our township manager to purchase the 30 acres plots called Wright Woods. That action will be going before the township board. I believe it's next week for final approval. Secondly, we have received an agreement of the selling price for the lot on Ferry Trail, which will provide access for the open space property located behind the homes onto Ferry Road, which will give us residents an excellent avenue to travel through the woods and also to travel from the north end of the island down the middle to Ferry Road. Now that action is pending and will be probably going before the township board for review during the month of September sometime, but I'm not sure. So that's about the 2 significant events that we have. They're rather significant and will add to our open space properties. The next item is the Grosseal Nature Land Conservancy update. Bert, if you would, please.
Grosseal Nature and Land Conservancy has been continuing to celebrate our 25th anniversary all this year. And we're continuing with our events, educational events, and stewardship. The stewardship event scheduled for this Saturday, though, has been canceled. There is one coming up on September 22nd. Some events in October, and then in November is our annual meeting on November 10th and an owl prowl in the evening on November 9th. So that's about it.
Thank you very much, Bert. Next, I would like to introduce the new recreation liaison from the Recreation Commission, Kyle DeBassett. Kyle, could you give us a short update of what's happening with the rec department?
Sure. Very happy to be here. The 2 major items of action at the last Recreation Commission were we voted and approved GIZA, the Grosseal Soccer Association's request to use Centennial Farm for additional practices. for their 2018 and 2019 season. And we also voted to approve the Nature and Land Conservancy's continuation of the building of the retaining wall at Sunrise Park. So those were the major items of action. But just other things of note, there are a couple big events coming up. Up front here is At Home on Macomb is happening September 28th and 29th and 30th. Lots of different events that you can see on the website and in other places. And also, the Recreation Department is having a big Halloween party on October 27th. Tickets are on sale for $30 each, or 2 for $50, and a lot of that will go to finance money still owed for the rink at Water's Edge. So those are major items of business, but I'm just really happy to be here, happy to meet you all, and to be able to report back to what you all are doing to the Recreation Department.
Thank you very much.
Could I ask a question?
Of course.
It's not Paint the Town Red.
Good question.
Welcome Home on Macomb.
I know last year was Paint the Town Red, and it doesn't. I haven't seen that in the materials this year, so maybe that's changed. But that would be a question for Angela Secocas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Pam, could you update us on what's happening with the Beautification Committee?
Yeah, we didn't meet this summer, but we're meeting tomorrow. I just got a little sidebar. One of our previous members, she was very active, Irma Slimko, she painted this watercolor. I don't know whether anybody can see it but she painted this watercolor when the Beautification Committee hosted the Beautification Council of Southeastern Michigan at Ford Yacht Club a year ago, June. And she painted this watercolor as an auction item. A lady from a northern suburb won it, and she returned it because she said she doesn't have any connection with Grove Seal. So it was returned, and I won it the second time around. So I donated it to the Grove Seal Historical Society, and Irma, the painter, donated it, the painting and the opportunity to make prints of this painting, to the Grove Seal Historical Society. And so the president, Tony Grukowski, wrote a letter of support because I nominated Irma for the Individual Service Award for the Beautification Council of Southeastern Michigan. And Irma was named the Individual Service Award winner. So she will receive this honor at the September 20th meeting. It's going to be in Inkster, and it's in honor of her contribution to the community, not only doing the painting, but allowing the Historical Society to make copies of it and sell the prints at the Lighthouse Tour, which is coming up on the 9th of September.
Thank you, Pam. Next, we have a representative from the Bike Path Commission. Could not be here tonight, but we will be getting copies of his of the minutes of the Bike Path Commission, and we'll include it in our minutes and communications for the Open Space Committee. The next item is I'd like to introduce our new full member for the Open Space Committee, Mr. John Myers. John, could you stand and just maybe tell us a couple things about yourself? And first of all, welcome to the Open Space Program.
Thank you very much. As I said in my application, we have the good fortune, we as my wife and I, to live in the only house on the north side of Horse Mill Road between Meridian and Thoroughfare, and we're surrounded by open space, and we face open space, and we have greenways, and I said, you know, we really have an interest in seeing this situation thrive, and I'll do the best I can.
Thank you very much, John. Appreciate it, and again, welcome aboard. There being no audience, we will dispense with the public comment section. Next, we'll go to the project status. The school liaison, Bert, have you? Not yet, right?
Well, actually, I found out today that Connor Viverina, who was to be our liaison from the Groseal High School Environmental Awareness Club, has music lessons on Tuesday evenings, so he is unavailable. So I've asked him and Emily Wash, who is the president of the club, to find another liaison for us for the October meeting.
Okay, that'll be fine. Well, let's hope we're successful this time in getting a representative from the high schools to become interested in the open space program. Thank you very much. Next is the welcome letter update. John, if you could just give us a short summary.
Sure.
John is taking care of the welcome letters now.
I've given Cliff a list of the 13 new residents that were recorded in the month of July. We don't have an up-to-date list yet for August, who are receiving the welcome letters. At the present time, I'm using the same form that Woody used. Cliff has told me that if I have any feelings about changing it, I can do so, but as of right now, I don't. So I believe in this program. I think it's a good thing, and I think it will help make people feel welcome.
Thank you very much, John. The next item is maybe our big event which occurred during the month of October, and that is the Dump the Junk event. Both Daryl Filarski and Pat Nielsen are going to coordinate that affair. Is there anything, Pat and Daryl, that you need from this committee to?
Pat and I were discussing if we don't have enough help, how are we going to run this operation?
How many do you need?
We need at least, what, 10 people?
We could do it with 9.
With 9?
Okay. I will personally see that you get the 9 people. You need 9 people? Okay.
If the members of the committee would at least sign up to say that they will be there with one friend. Now, I have coerced my daughter-in-law, so I have my friend. But I think if we pull together, we can do this. The problem is, if we don't have enough members of the committee there, we end up having people graciously volunteering to help us, but some issues have been arising with that. And we really need to have members of the committee there. Just so those of you who haven't remembered, it's October 13th from 9 until 4:30. And if any of you want to sign up now and commit, or call me, because I will be calling you individually to ask you if you're able to commit yourself and a buddy. But we can't do it without people. And what makes it worse is we're not the only ones that do this. And we have so many people come expecting to have services that we do not provide, nor do we intend to provide. They expect us to unload their car. They expect us to help them load things in that they decide they want. None of us are spring chickens, and many of us have back problems. So if the buddy you bring is younger, that would be even better.
Liz?
So Pat and Daryl, I think I will reach out to the Conservancy members, and we should reach out to the high school. I know my aunt in Lambertville, she does a lot of historical restoration and stuff, and she gets the high school football team to do a lot for her. So this could be a good job for them. But also, I think what we need is written information ahead of time, and that we can all have, like what we
Consistency.
accept, what we don't, and all that stuff, because it gets to be a jumble.
We are going to put up, Cliff, just in case you forgot, we're going to put up at the entry a sign that says residence ID required. I think that would help.
I have the sign that we've been using for years in the back of my minivan, and what I would like to do is, after the meeting, you tell me exactly what you want on that sign.
Okay.
And I'll see it's on the 1, 2, 3, 4 signs that we have.
Okay.
All right, and I'll get that out. Post haste, we'll have paragraphics do it.
Now, am I correct in saying that it's my understanding that residents only can drop off, but anyone else may come in and find a treasure? Or is that a misunderstanding on my part?
Well, we've been having, that's kind of like a new wrinkle of, in other words, this is for residents only in terms
To
of
drop off,
dropping
correct.
off.
But what about treasure hunting?
Well, personally, I don't see any big problem with having non-residents come in.
Because
I'd like to get the other board's feelings on it.
Yeah. Well, let me just tell you where I'm coming from. We have, believe it or not, apparently people like to just drive around on Grosio, especially on the weekends. And we have people who pull in and say, "Oh, what's going on? Can we come in and get treasures?" Well, I'm one of them, and I've said, sure. Because we don't want to end up with all these treasures. We want them to sort of disappear. But I just want to make sure that I am correct with that interpretation.
I have no problem with that, personally. Anybody else?
My only thought would be if people are going to have a garage sale and they want to pick up something and sell at their own garage sale. But I'm comfortable with people just driving in and finding a treasure and making sure we don't have any leftovers.
Well, this is again one of the reasons why I want our committee members to be there, because some of our volunteers, that's exactly what they do. They spend the whole 2 days there collecting. But being that they're the only ones we have to help, we've allowed this to go on.
Do you ever have a problem with people from outside wanting to dump junk?
Yes.
How do you deal with it?
They don't have their residency driver's license. We just say, go away.
Okay.
With a smile.
Does it work?
It does for me.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that, as Pat was describing, that non-residents shouldn't be allowed to drop stuff off, but they should be allowed to pick up anything, even if they're going to have a garage sale. I mean, anything is better than stuff ending up going to the landfill. And if somebody has the energy and the will to have a garage sale, then more power to them, because I don't.
That was the main reason why this program was started by our committee, is because we had a major problem with residents and others dumping refuse on open space trail. I mean, open spaces, period. And I'm happy to say that that has been curtailed tremendously. So, okay. Pat, anything else that you need?
I don't think so, Darryl.
I think we're good.
We're good.
Okay.
Oh, and I have one other question.
You're going to have your 9 people there. I guarantee it.
I had a bright idea, but I don't know if this would be appropriate. How many of you are, I guess, signed up to that Grow Zeal Now? The gentleman, Mr. Sawyer, who runs that, interviews people on Grosse Ile. And I was wondering if we cannot get volunteers. I've already talked to Cliff about this, and he said he might be my guinea pig, to allow Mr. Sawyer to interview Cliff and let him tell about the program and open space and ask for volunteers. What do you guys think?
As far as the deadline is concerned, when do you need to know how many people are going to be there and when they were going to be there?
As soon as possible.
I would say by the end of the month.
End of the month, okay. Before the next open space meeting, which is...
Yeah, because we need to have time to get word out that it's canceled.
Okay. All right, how about if we get back to you by when? The end of this...
By the end of this week, I will be calling each of you. And if I don't have my 9 people by then, I will contact Cliff and we'll go to Mr. Sawyer. Yes?
Count on Jack and Pam Frucci.
Okay.
And I also write for the Grand, and they have what's happening, and I could put an item in that we're looking for willing volunteers for the
Great.
Dump the Junk.
That'd be super.
If you could write a nice article, if you can, for the Grand for this month. Is that possible? About the Dump the Junk program. Appreciate it. Kyle, we might ask for the help from the Recreation Department to help us with that event.
I've got to talk to my cousin and my wife. We have our Halloween hay rides at that time, so I might be preparing for one, but I'll do my best to see what I can do.
Okay. And should call. You want us to call you? That's your
Yes,
phone
call
number?
me.
Yeah.
734. It's on the directory. I guess 676 3111.
Now, I might add that you will also have the use of the 2 full-time employees. They'll be there on Saturday, and they can help as well.
And I know it's John, and who's the other one?
Who is the other? I don't know who the other gentleman is. The one who works with him? I'll get that name for you.
Okay,
Okay.
good. Because if we're going to do this, we want to do it well.
Well, absolutely.
And we want to be able to have people leaving thinking, this is great. Come on, guys, we can do this. Thank you.
So all you folks out in TV land, now you're inspired to volunteer for Dump the Junk, so make sure you call Pat.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Your phone will be ringing off the hook.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any?
Is there any public comment?
Yes, please.
I guess I have to remind you guys. I'm Ted Fournier, the Communications Administrator, and I have a whole department that's only job is to communicate, but we can't communicate if you don't give us the information. Just as a reminder, we have 2,500 people that are connected with Grosse Ile Facebook page. We have 6,900 people that are connected with the app. We can put it on television. We can ask for volunteers. We can interview you and put you on GITV. But you got to make use of us. I mean, we have, those are just 4. Facebook, anything that goes on Facebook goes on Twitter. And there's almost 600 people signed up for the Grosse Ile Twitter page. So if you get the information here, we now have Brian, in the clerk's office, is putting stuff up on Facebook, and then I'm still doing the TV, and we're both doing the app. By the end of the week, we should be to 7,000 people signed up. 7,000.
If we get the information to you by the end of the week, would that be satisfactory?
Yeah, as soon as you get it up, we can put it in. As far as interviewing, we've done that before for a few years back.
Okay.
I interviewed you, or we did an interview for Dump the Junk. And as far as Paint the Town Red, it's the 28th and 29th of September. That's homecoming weekend. And there's stuff on, I know it's on the TV right now. We have the information on TV, and I think it's also on the front page of the web page. So, and yeah, that's another thing, we can put this up on the web page. So send it to either Brian or myself here in the office, and we can get you hooked up so 15,000 people get a chance to see it. So that's my contribution.
For a flyer to go on the TV, is that, you want that in portrait or?
Our TV, I use PowerPoint. It's a PowerPoint presentation. For the best results, just put who, what, when, where, and how. Not a whole lot of print. 28-point print, and try to stay away from red backgrounds and white backgrounds.
Do you want that in portrait or?
Oh, JPEG would be fine.
Do you want it?
If you send me a picture, no, the other way.
Yeah, portrait.
Landscape.
And as soon as I get it, I'll put it up. So. And if, Cliff, you want to do an interview, just let me know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks,
And
Ted.
we can put that before and after every meeting that we run, so. Anything else?
No.
Communications Department.
Thank you very much, Ted. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Pat, is there anything else with regard to the Dump the Junk program?
No, I think I got everything.
Okay. Thank you. The next item is I've passed out a copy of the overseer sheet. John, could I put you on the spot and just tell you what you've done this last month with your? I have a copy of your email here, and just.
Well, I didn't know if there was any official report format, so I just sent Cliff an email and made it as brief as possible. I have copies here if anybody wants them. I basically, I guess it was probably Cliff who made the decision, inherited Woody's 5 open space sites, Marion Park, every one of these that I'm going to read to you, and I'm not going to read every word, there was no sign of littering or dumping in any of the 5 open space areas that I looked at, which I'm glad to report. I'll also keep an eye on Horsemill Greenway, which is adjacent to the property where I live. Horsemill Open Space is across the street. I penetrated about 2/3 of the way back in there and saw basically nothing but natural stuff.
Is there a trail there?
It runs out pretty fast. You couldn't get through, Potawatomi or whatever the street north of there is. Although it might be that a real hardy hiker could, with proper boots and all, could make it. The Park Lane open space, it was very interesting that there's a path from just north of the open space sign that goes all the way back to a DTE easement, which I'm assuming is the source of power for the Presbyterian Church, although I couldn't take an oath on that right now because I didn't follow it to the end. I can't figure out why there would be a power easement out there for any other purpose, running north and south from Horsemill to the next street south.
Okay.
Anybody here remember what a corduroy road is? Well, watch if you try to walk into this area, be very careful because apparently DTE at one time created their version of a corduroy road. So I stumbled 2 or 3 times just getting back there because the logs that have been laid across the road are treacherous. Then finally, went into the east of the bird sanctuary area. It's just opposite Canal Street going north from Horse Mill. And apparently vehicles go back in that area sometimes because you can tell there's a track, and there's an open space that looked like it was cleared probably for a house at one time that never got built. Probably back at the equivalent of Oriole Street on the no, I guess that's not in Grosse Hill Woods. Okay, whatever. I'm wondering, if maybe the track there is what we used to refer to as a lover's lane or something like that.
Okay. Well, that's the type of thing I think we're looking for in terms of you don't have to go through it every month, maybe once every 3 or 4 months. And what I've done here is I've passed out a list of the maps, excuse me, and a list of the areas. There's some on here that I mean by NR, which is, in my humble opinion, of course, there's nothing dictatorial about it, hopefully, that we really don't need any review of those areas, but take a look at these areas, all of you, and then let me know which ones you'd like. I know that Pat wants the wildlife sanctuary, and that's hers, so she's got that. So if there's so take a look at it and let me know by the next meeting which ones you want. Daryl, I know that you've got Centennial Farm and Albenar Meadows. Any other areas that you'd like to have, just let me know, and I'll just update the list then. Okay.
So put me down for Manchester Woods.
Okay. Okay, Manchester Woods. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Where do I see that?
You can keep it.
South section someplace. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Very good.
I don't even know if the Old Donny Marsh is accessible.
Well, we'll just put, if you feel it's in, if it's not accepted, just put NR. Okay.
I'll check it out.
Okay, so just take a look at it and let us know if you can. There's been some progress on the maintenance of the open space trails. Let me start off with it. Down at the end, Daryl, Centennial Farm, I think, is in pretty good shape, are they not?
Yeah, we did contact TNT, and they're supposed to dump some mulch in there when it dries out on the low areas, just the grassy areas, But that was about
He's going to be
it.
doing that shortly.
Yeah. So.
At wildlife sanctuaries, is that?
It's looking good, yeah. And I want to thank all of the residents. I have, in this summertime, only picked up 4 pieces of litter. It's beautiful trail. Go walk it.
Bert, I know this is but the Manchester Trail, which you will now have, if you can, they're going to be doing some additional work in the back end.
I saw a pile of mulch there, so.
So I haven't been back there lately, but
Yeah.
they're working on it as we speak. So there's, I think we're making real good progress on the trails, and hopefully, if we can get that Tittle property purchased, we can put another trail, let's call it the Ferry Trail, and make that an official trail. And we've been working hard on that for the last, year and a half?
More than that,
Yeah.
Since the original
Okay.
trail was blocked off.
Okay. Well, that just about covers most of it. I'd like to start down at the end here, and if there's any additional comments or maybe some topics for some future meetings, Daryl?
I haven't got anything to add.
Pat?
Oh, yes. I have the directory that is being updated. We're missing one bit of information, and I want everyone to please check it, make sure everything is accurate, and based on what happened this evening, if you all have a cell phone number, so if someone's going to be late, they can get hold of someone and tell them they're going to be late. It really would help, I'm sure, all of us at each time. So I'm going to take this down at that end now and ask all of you to just check it and pass it along.
Okay.
And then I'm fine. Thank you.
Bert, anything?
Nothing else for me.
Okay. I have nothing except to again welcome John and Kyle to the Open Space Program. John, anything?
Thanks again. I'm glad to be here.
Okay. Pam?
Yeah, I have a report on the Playscape trails.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I walked it and I ran into another walker on the trail who didn't know he was in open space property. He was looking for mushrooms.
Okay.
And
did you find any?
No. He said he's been a couple times down the trail and looking for mushrooms. But I did give him a brief overview of what open space was all about, and this is one of the trails, and I was inspecting to make sure there was no litter or trees over the trail.
Okay.
And so he did tell me that the last time he walked the trail, he was almost face to face with a deer.
The trail is being used then.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
And I noticed there a new fence over the little stream that runs under the trail.
At the beginning?
Yeah. But I'd never seen them before.
Maybe the rec people put it there.
Yeah.
I mean, to keep the little kids who want to walk down the trail, give them a little barrier, a little, sense of safety.
It's a brand new fence that I'd never seen there before.
Was it well constructed? And
Yeah.
good shape? Good.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Well, it reinforced. And I noticed in the stream there were a lot of logs that had fallen over the stream. And I don't know whether maybe a Boy Scout project might be to take a chainsaw in
Are
there.
they inhibiting the flow of the water through there?
It looks like they could make a mini dam there
Okay.
to block the flow of the water.
Maybe we get a Boy Scout to go in there and maybe a project for them just to move them out of the way.
It just looks like a kind of neglected area. And I found 2 handheld pieces of litter. And so it was almost litter-free. And but the one problem, there's no trees over the trail, but there's a lot of weeds sprouting up in the chips.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, do we want to spray a weed killer or not? Because I'm kind of anti.
I kind of hate to do that.
Chemicals.
Maybe we can get some more mulch in there. That should help.
Well, they were popping through. They were almost taking over the chips. They were popping through the chips.
I think we put enough chips in it, it'll kill the weeds.
I pulled some of them, but it would be a major task to pull them all. But it was in pretty good shape. It makes a nice little trail. And it looks like it doesn't go around this major tree that it used to go around, but they laid the chips, so it kind of makes a little side loop. But the chips condition was very good.
Excellent.
It
Thanks.
just has too many weeds popping through with all the rain we've had.
Oh, that's great, Pam. Thank you. Kyle, do you have any closing remarks?
Nothing to add, just very happy to be here.
I always think of something. So, just seeing Pam there made me remember that on September 11th, which is a week from today. The Greening of Detroit is hosting an event at the Fort Street Presbyterian Church about heritage trees. So if anybody's interested, I guess they can contact me and maybe we can carpool.
I plan to go.
I think it's at 6:30, but I got to check.
I have it in my book.
Okay, if anybody else? Darrell?
That mulch has to be spread real deep, and you won't have weeds.
Yeah.
They're not spreading it deep enough.
Make sure we get some more mulch in that area.
Right, where Pam is suggesting, it has to be deep, real deep.
About what, 2 or 3 inches? Or?
Yeah, at least, yeah.
Oh, yes, thank you.
If
The trail gets used.
Oh, yeah.
That stops it down.
If there's nothing else, before I enter into the motion, I just want to remind everybody to make sure you talk to the FBI, your friends, brothers, and in-laws, and to have some volunteers for the Dump the Junk program, and to give that information to Pat Nielsen. If not, anybody have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Support?
I move it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.